And what I think is that for the reason that because skateboarding is extremely difficult and the talent is like off the charts if you're good at it, right? Also, it's great fun though. It's amazing fun just to do something simple. So you've got this element of like, it's amazing fun just to, ride a really nice little bowl, fun wise, but also to do very, very complicated technical stuff. It's an amazing achievement and feat. The thing is that most skateboarders, if you're by yourself and you do it, you're stoked. Or if any of your friends see you do it, you're stoked. Or if you can do it consistently, you're stoked. I mean, people like to get things filmed, don't get me wrong. If you can do the trick consistently, you don't have to film it. I mean, if you do it very rarely, then, it's cool to get it on film. But you don't want everyone, not everyone has to see the video. Most people would be more than stoked if they actually filmed it for themselves, right? But now people are throwing stuff up on Facebook left, right and centre. But you didn't really want to do it to film it. After a while, though, it gets to a point where if you do something extremely rare or rather difficult, then you're disappointed if you don't get it on film, only because you can't do it all the time, or else, if you could do it like, you pick a spoon up, then it's not even worth filming, right? But it shouldn't be, getting it on film and video shouldn't be the reason why you do it. It's to pass the time and enjoy it. I mean, if you get a trick that you just like doing, right, you can do it all day and have fun. I mean, and even if it's difficult or easy, The thing is that for the majority of the skateboarding culture, it was happy if it, filmed and made little videos within its own little, minding its own business, right? It wasn't doing it to get everyone in the world to see it, to fill a stadium up to see it, right? But it was undoubtedly more difficult and more skill and talent than anything in the Olympics. But it was this little thing on the streets. That means that, you see, I think the entity, the government at large, or as Mike Bence calls it, the blob, were envious of these skateboarders who have got amazing talent and weren't that bothered about everyone, everyone crowding around and throwing coins in the hat and kind of like, watching it, right? So they wanted to bring it to the world, but they also, but also they wanted to kind of like own it completely and have their hands on the steering wheel of the culture and the clothing, and also influence the attitudes of the skateboarders. They didn't want the skateboarders to be independent, to be rebels, to be anti-establishment. They wanted them to really to wear the suits, to be to come over to the corporate, basically, and it has. And now they are doing it. They are performing for people in these big Olympic stadiums and for the money, and for the cheers for the crowds. But that's very and the thing with the competitive element is that you want to win and beat everyone else and have the trophy. Almost kind of like the football teams want to beat each other. But I don't necessarily think that. I mean, obviously, I've never wanted to be able to do a trick and other people not to be able to do it. That's for sure. I've always wanted to be able to do it so I could join in and have fun at a similar level to everyone else. Not like, I can do this and you can't, so I win and you lose. Everyone would like other people to be able to learn or teach them how to do the tricks, right? But in sport, there can only be one winner. There can only be one team who walks away with a trophy. There can only be one winner and a loser, like in Oxford rowing, once you get and that's the thing with the Olympics, you get the winner and the other people lose, and definitely is, to get everyone to make a spectacle of it. Now it's getting so big, and now that, these tricks are just like, one trick here, then another trick at the other side of the park, then another in the other corner, then back again with just a lot of travel in between. I think it is starting to get like a circus show. It is like that's what you do in the big top, don't you? In the big, it's like it's basically like the circus, you know, the trapeze swinging from one side to the other, you know, and you're getting as many people crammed in as you can, you know, let me entertain you, and you pay your money when you're at the entrance. And that's what skateboarding is not about. It does end up being a little bit acrobatic if you think about it, all the manuals and the balancing thing, but not in the street context. Remember, skateboarders aren't buskers, you know. On the live video, you know, he ain't doing that manual roll. That, you know, people aren't throwing money at him doing that manual roll when he does that legendary manual roll. In the live video, he's not doing it for money in a hat. You know, although you might say, well, he's a pro skater and he's getting paid for doing the video and everything like that, but you know, not in that context. And he ain't got loads of people crowding, lining the sides of the pavement, like in the Tour de France. You know, they're not lining when he's doing that manual. He ain't got punters lined up either side of the fucking pavement. You know, and watching him how far he can manual roll. You know, it isn't, you know, busking. I think that's the thing with the circus, you know. It's always been pay at the door and see how many people you can ram in and let me entertain you. With skateboarding, it does involve acrobatics and skills, but it's mainly for your own pleasure and interest, or just you and your mates, you know. I think the establishment had a good stab at skateboarding when they did those wheelers in Return to Oz and made them all kind of like, you know, nasties. But notice they made them all serve the Queen, you know, who in turn served the Gnome King. And I think really that's what I think they've done to it in a way, but instead of like, you know, you see in the Return to Oz, they made all the wheelers kind of like, you know, nasty, grotesque at serving these authorities. Now what they've done is they've made the little urchins, the little street dudes, the little people who are poor knocking around to entertain themselves. What they've done is they've made them rich and they've infiltrated and taken over all of their companies, and now they own it. And now they can say, right, you're all wearing, you know, Nike tracksuits or, you know, whatever, and you're all going to, you know, smile and curtsy at us, you know, and be all well behaved and all, you know, positive. You know, no one, that was a thing of skateboarding though. I mean, you can't, you know, it's not Smilex, you know, like on the Joker. We're not all spraying our mouths with a smile, you know. This is the thing. People were pissed off with, you know, being poor. People were pissed off with, you know, their life situation or things, and you go skateboarding to make up for it, you know. That's the thing, you know. Now, almost like TV, you know, if you ain't going to smile, if you ain't going to be happy, then fuck off. You know, if you ain't going to go on there with Simon Cowell, with Smilex and nothing's wrong with the world. Everything's perfect. Everything's perfect. There's nothing wrong with the world, you know. Simon Cowell vision, you know, be positive. But you know, maybe that's the thing, you know. But there are still poor people, you know, and we've been ripped off by this establishment. You know, the last thing that really you wanted to do was like sign up to it, you know. So that's he's been hijacked, you know. He's been boarded. That's the thing. We've been boarded, you know. They've sailed up the side of us, you know, and boarded the ship and taken over, you know. Really. And unfortunately, a lot of the pros who were successful have been steering it, you know, where the whole thing's going. And you might say, well, we've done a lot of good for the world. You know, Tony Hawk's built loads of skate parks, you know, he's made millions, he's successful and so forth. It's all positive, but, you know, not everyone had their own, you know, I know Hawk doesn't want to hear this, but, you know, he's made up for having, you know, ramps himself by going and building parks for everyone else. But that's the thing, you know, taking it off the streets. I mean, are the establishment going to skate stop everything, or are they going to end up doing all these new skateable environments like on the games, the 3D games? You know, I can't see them doing that everywhere, but lots of different places seem in conflict with it. I get the idea that they want to take it off the streets and they don't want it to be related to the streets. They want it to be all kind of like all purpose-built parks like the Olympics and like the stadium. And if it's going to go that way, then it's for the spectacle and for the entertainment of everyone else and for the money as much as it is for the athletes. And, to say that, skateboarding was what it was because of, places like Broadmarsh and there's, Liverpool Police Banks and, Dead Rabbits Ramp and all these places. And not a lot of them survived, a lot of them got, demolished and knocked down and so forth. And I think it's ironic that now they're pumping all this money into these, pop-up stadiums and so forth that are here today, gone tomorrow, for the spectacle. But why didn't we build you a nice, amazing park that hardly nobody in the world can skate because it's too big? Now they want to acknowledge the skill level of this sport is so immensely mind-blowing, but none of the real places where its roots are, where it came from, are there. Like, Liverpool Police Banks or Broadmarsh, gone, so they, and I think they knew that all along that there was talent there, and these are like, places of importance, but they'd rather put, the statues of fucking, Keir Starmer or whatever in the square and have the seagulls shit on them, They'd rather have these, metal, what's a lump of metal, it's good for nothing. It's a spectacle at the end of the day. What is the point in having some sort of metal statue in the middle of the fucking, fountain with, piss? At least you can drink. At least if someone has stood in the fountain taking a piss, at least you can drink it. A statue of someone taking a piss, at least you can have a drink if it's clean water. But a statue of someone just stood there doing nothing. Oh, it's a memorial, but, it doesn't look anything like the person. It's cast in metal, it ain't even skin colour. It's just pointless, it's a waste of space, it's an obstruction. You might as well have that person, resting in the ground, like they fucking dug Oliver Cromwell up and stuck his head on a pike on the top of Westminster for 30 years, At least that won't block in anyone's fucking way in the middle of the town centre, At least Cromwell's head on a pike on the top of Parliament won't blocking anyone in the middle of the street getting in the fucking way of the fucking town centre, This is the thing. It's kind of sold out, and that's the thing with Kennedy now. I think with Kennedy, he's like, okay, everyone needs to, we don't want everyone's company under central command control. Kennedy's like, people need to own their own houses and have their own right to trade and business and so forth. And I think that really, because otherwise you're going to end up with just like Nike, Nike everything, Nike shoes, Nike hat, Nike everything, and then Nike have the adverts and Nike control the culture, and then everyone goes into the stadium, and then it's almost like you might as well, it's like Democrats and Republicans, and then you've got like the Democrat skate team and the Republican skate team, and then you've lost that kind of like, independence or whatever, but, and then, all this united business, united for what? United under one, one group that's got one set of ideas, one identity, one ruler, or you've not even voted for and picked. There is no, it's, when there was many different companies, all these different skate companies with different vibes, different, like Mambo, Volcom, Vans, all different. The only way you can go, really, when they're all under one thing, is notice that after all these big companies and entities take over, what's the point in buying? If you've got, right, a multi-billion-pound clothing company, Nike, why do you need to have shares in Volcom? Why do you need to buy them? We'll keep Wolcott and fucking, Remy on because, they're the ones who, they invented the idea, they have the style. Because if we sack them, then, whoever's in control of it, end up, why don't we change the fucking Volcom logo into a tick So it's like a Volcom tick, and then then we'll just get rid of the black part and just have it white or a white tick. Like, fuck it. It is those people. The thing is, they want to take the piece of it that they want, and bend it to their own ends and means, which is making money, And the thing with skateboarding is it's meant to be opposition, isn't it? The whole point of, you don't have to be mean to people to be someone who is, okay, maybe, who are you and where are you from? Like in that new Public Image song, what John Lydon's doing. John Lydon's doing that that Shoom song, when he says like, I'm working class, I'm from the streets, otherwise I think that you're going to end up like with. You can almost, like when you're on a tennis pitch, and fire some balls at me, right? And like firing the fucking tennis balls and out of one of those machines, just hitting the balls. Otherwise, you just got like some kind of deck, like a fucking skateboard machine, like firing out decks, and you got these little kids, like triple kick flipping, 50 stairs or for the Olympics or whatever. He just snaps his board like bam, and he's always fire me another deck, throw me another deck like fucking tennis ball machine, bang 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 bang, I snap my board, whatever. Well, it should be stronger, we made the indestructible skateboard. Why would you ever need another one? You won't be selling that many skateboards. Well, what am I going to decorate my walls with? Now, this is the deck that I skate, the indestructible one that never snaps. But I can't appreciate art on that because I'll have to get it rescreened every 10 days or whatever. The rest of the decks are just for art purposes. Fill my why buy wallpaper when I can do my walls with decks. This is what most people are doing now. Even the smaller the house you've got, if you only got a council house, then there are less walls to cover with decks. So it's like if you've got council house, you've only got 3 rooms to do full of decks, and then you can't fit any more in there. This is the thing. So I think that they knew all along that skateboarding was a gem, and they wanted to take over it, and I think they have. There is a resistance, but even now, I think that the conclusion that they seem to have come on this 9 show is, what to do, where to go. How they said, it's come to a low or whatever. I've never seen as many boards being sold in my life, Maybe if they don't know, what is happening with skateboarding itself. And I think that the fact that some of these pros and some of the tricks are so difficult and insane now that it's some people are just like, whoa, it's almost kind of like it is so difficult and hard that really it's almost like beam me up, in a fucking space. It's almost kind of like a UFO's going to come over the top of the fucking Olympic Stadium when the, skateboarding's on, and actually beam someone up, because, who could even do that? In reality, are they even human? I mean, some kid comes and does like fucking, a 900 hard flip, McTwist, or whatever. Maybe they aren't human. Maybe it's maybe they're not human. Maybe they do finally leave on the spaceship. And that's it. And who can beat that? And they can never go to that spot again. That would be one. That would be one good thing for the Olympics, wouldn't it? I think that probably would be the coolest statement you could make. Probably if you skate for Consolidated or something like that. We shut that place down. You can never go back there again. You can never go back there and do that. Some kid goes there and does, whatever, and no one can beat it. Like you shut the spot down, so they say, no one can go back there. That might be something, maybe some little, Japanese, bullet kid can turn up at the Olympics and, do something that shut the whole thing down. Because no one can ever go back there and do it. It's just like impossible. Maybe then we'll have to go back to the streets and start from scratch again. I don't know, but it's not just skateboarding though, is it? It's everything. But the thing is though that now everything has to be filmed. Every single thing. It's like the government are wanting all this 5G everywhere, cameras everywhere. But since when does everyone apply to Tesco for the skate footage? Since when does anyone apply to the university for their historical skate footage of skating spots? Maybe he's on film somewhere. This is it. The establishment seem to be putting cameras everywhere, paid for by the taxpayer, but we don't seem to be getting the footage. All this facial recognition that the police have got, and the police, we're paying for it. We're paying for all this surveillance on every street corner, but is Mark Rowley sending you your kick flipping that you did, on a certain street corner in London, Tuesday at 5 when you write in, they'll tell you fuck off, right? But I pay for that camera, right? Oh, it's for law enforcement, Oh, well, so much for fucking Zick Heil Team Nike taking over the planet, this is the thing, would I don't maybe if we'd have all had a ranchero, maybe we'd all just be fucking up in a hot air balloon with Branson, we wouldn't need to go skateboarding. But that's the thing with Branson's kid, you got to come back down to earth again. That's why I think Branson's kid rode BMX, didn't he? Someone's told us that that skate park in Leeds, that apparently Branson's kid's been there on his BMX. So, even the rich people have to try and, pretend that they're from the streets or whatever. I think Kennedy's right with this whole kind of let's come away from this big corporate thing a little bit. And, this is the thing with the companies, it's... Because I think now it does seem more about the actual product than you don't need to skate. Because the thing is, people are just buying the clothes and putting the decks on the wall, and they're just going to turn up and watch it on TV without actually having to do the skateboarding, right? And even if they were doing the skateboarding, that the tricks are that difficult now. I think that the tricks, are accelerating away from the majority of people. You see, when, the tricks weren't as insane, you could learn them if you went to a decent park and started small and worked your way up, or went to, there were a lot of the tricks were within learning. Obviously, there's always going to be bigger stuff that people are going to do that are, ballsy or whatever. But it was a lot more. It's like you were chasing after something that may or may not have been, realistically possible. But a lot of it, you could have reached it. Now, I think for the majority of people, it seems to be accelerating away. I may be wrong. Maybe there are more and more and more and more people getting rad. But when I've been to parks, I think those people at Tony Hawk, have got on his little training ranch, all these little Terminators who are just, whatever. I'm not seeing, hundreds of them, hundreds of, McTwists, all these, like, there's that little Chinese kid who was going around that ball thing, just doing mad kickflip, front side flip stuff in that bowl as well, stuff like that. They're not all doing it, some of them are good, not every single person, where do we where does it go? School, skateboarding at schools. I don't think skateboarding. It wasn't like you skateboarded because you weren't on the football team. You didn't play football. I'm not saying that you can't play football if you skate, but what I mean is like if you were on the football team, one of the team, you got the football shirt, and you're fighting the other team. Skateboarders don't fight. They don't oppose. They don't want to win or beat any other. They won't say, "Right, I got to,"